My dearest brothers and sisters. This is Hakann speaking. I greet you in peace and love. Today I would like to remind you just how much you have been through already, and to remind you that despite all this, you are still standing. With this, I hope to remind you just how strong and impressive you are. I hope to remind you that you're not flawed, you're not broken, you're not weak, you've just been through a lot and perhaps you're still carrying a lot of weight. From my perspective, you don't have weak shoulders, you have strong shoulders, there's just a lot of weight on them. But you're handling it impressively well. So, what are a human's needs? One of them is emotional safety. As Tunia has discussed in her message, Tunia, romantic relationships, the vast majority of people around you will probably have been mostly emotionally unsafe. It is entirely possible that you have never had a close connection with an Earth human who was mostly emotionally safe. This includes people just letting you be you, without trying to change you or tell you what you should do or be or believe. Another need of humans is that they receive unconditional love. The vast majority of Earth humans, including parents unfortunately, do not express nearly enough unconditional love. Very often the love is conditional, what I've described in an earlier message as dog training love. If the child or dog behaves well, then the adult gives them affection, but if the child or dog behaves in a way that's inconvenient for the adult, then the adult withdraws affection. To me, it is quite heartbreaking that so many Earth humans have not had this very basic need met, of receiving unconditional love. So most Earth humans don't have the very foundational needs met of having mostly emotionally safe people around them and receiving unconditional love. Furthermore, many Earth humans then aren't allowed to express the so-called negative emotions that inevitably follow with that, and are sometimes gaslighted by their parents into thinking that there is something wrong with them, when in reality the child simply didn't receive the unconditional love that they needed. Many Earth humans also aren't given some very basic tools to deal with their so-called negative emotions, such as what I shared in my message, Hakann, the observation path. Some people only discover something like that in their 30s, and have to go out into the world to find something like that, whereas that is something that we teach to our children when they are very young. So people aren't given the emotional safety and unconditional love they need. Then sometimes they are gaslighted into thinking there is something wrong with them when they inevitably experience emotional pain from the lack of those things, and people also aren't given even some very basic tools and information on how to deal with their pain. Psychologists often aren't available and affordable, plus there is a stigma against admitting that you are in psychological pain, even though nearly everyone on Earth is. Some psychologists and certain mainstream psychology approaches frankly aren't very good either. In some cases, the symptoms are addressed but the root cause isn't. We still recommend going to a psychologist if you feel you need it, because there absolutely are good psychologists out there, but it is still sad that some people can try to seek help and then end up with a psychologist who either isn't very good or isn't a very good match, and end up not being helped much or even hurt further. Furthermore, people are forced to sit still as children in a boring room for years on end, studying something that in most cases doesn't interest them. Most children are offered little choice in what they wish they learn or do once they enter school, being treated almost as slaves. People are also fed false information constantly and from everywhere. Mainstream media, politicians, teachers and school books, many organized religions, etc. all constantly tell falsehoods to people. Sure, some of those people just repeat what they've been told themselves and don't realize that they are spreading false information. But the net result is still that nearly everyone is constantly told things that are not true. Then when people become adults, they're placed in an often harsh economical situation, where it's swim or sink, in water infested with sharks. Most people are wired to need a loving community around them to feel good psychologically, but most people don't have such a community and it's not easy to find one there on Earth. I could go on. You know all these things, in fact you know them better than I do, because you are living through it. And yet, despite the fact that from my point of view, Earth humans are not getting the majority of their needs met, still most people not only manage to create a tolerable life for themselves, but also they manage to maintain a fundamentally good heart. To me, this is incredibly impressive. Frankly, I am sometimes surprised that there is not more crime and selfishness there on Earth. I genuinely think you are all amazing and doing very well indeed. I don't think you are weak. I think you are incredibly strong. You just probably have a lot on your shoulders. That doesn't make you weak. I think you're all amazing. I am very proud of you, and I am glad that I can call you my brothers and my sisters. I absolutely do not think that I am better than you are, because since my birth nearly all of my needs have been met. I was born in physical and emotional luxury, while you have had to build a life out of nearly nothing. Please give yourself some credit. The average soul in the universe genuinely couldn't have done what you have done already. The average soul would just have broken psychologically, and certainly wouldn't have woken up enough to go and look for these kinds of messages. You're doing far better than the average soul would have done, had they been in your place. And if you ever feel like you need to rest, and it is possible in the context of your life, please do so. I am hereby giving you permission, although of course you don't need it. You have all been through an incredible amount of hardship, and it is entirely understandable that sometimes you need some rest. No matter how strong the soul may be, the body and the central nervous system and the emotional body and the inner child all need rest from time to time. I love you so very much, and I am very proud of you. You are doing amazingly well. Your star brother, Hakann.